Hey guys, I'm Joshua Sampson, and I'm here to discuss empathy versus sympathy. Empathy versus sympathy are terms that are commonly interchanged with one another, yet their definitions actually have very two distinctive meanings. During the course of this presentation, I will help the audience be able to identify and differentiate between the two and how it is actually used as a communication skill. So I'll actually go right into it with defining the terms. So I'll begin with empathy, which is understanding what someone else is feeling because you've experienced it yourself, or you can place yourself into their shoes. Empathy can be deeply emotional because of the fact that you have gone through similar events, and it helps build the relationship with the person or the audience that you're talking to, and you gain a trust and respect that you wouldn't otherwise have. With that said, with my first example, I empathize with him because he ended up ruining a brand new pickup a couple weeks ago when he went mudding. I understood what he was going through because I had the same thing happen to me 2 years ago, well, 2 or 3 years ago, but I'm not really sympathetic because he knew the risks and I knew the risks of it, and he wasn't in any really big hardship, I guess. Like, he wasn't sad or anything like that. Like, there wasn't any distraught. I guess I'm trying to explain this as best I can, but that's where I'm going to go with the definition of sympathy here in a second. So, well, we'll go into that actually right now. Sympathy, which is acknowledging a person's emotional hardship and providing comfort and reassurance. It can be negative and positive depending on your perspective of the situation, in which the case with the pickup, I ended up getting a pretty negative response because I wasn't really emotionally there for him when he wrecked his pickup. I was laughing. So, but I'll actually go into two examples of sympathy that actually work a little bit better. So, my first one's actually me being overseas. My unit never suffered any casualties. We never saw any horrific events, but we did end up working with units that ended up having those events occur to them. And while we couldn't empathize with them because we couldn't put ourselves in their shoes, and we never really hit like events that were similar, we were able to sympathize with them because we were able to acknowledge the fact that they had these emotional hardships, that they were going through something that none of us would ever be able to come close to imagining. So we did our best to comfort them, tried to do whatever we could to make things right. So that was what sympathizing to me was overseas. More recently though, one of my friends actually ended up losing her job because of a layoff. And again, I never really went through a layoff before, nor get fired, so I couldn't really get to that deep of a level with her emotionally to help her, but I was able to sympathize because, again, I acknowledged the hardship. I knew that she was going through something that she needed help with, and I was there for her as much as we could. We ended up actually helping her get a new job somewhere else, similar job, everything. So that's my definitions of sympathy and empathy. So I'm actually going to help describe how you can use this as a communication skill actually via the textbook. So, described by the textbook, empathy is actually a communication skill that's actually very necessary on situations that would deal with disputes or opposing views on certain subjects. But it's actually a skill that's very rarely used correctly, and I guess very rarely used at all. But empathy can be your best friend because with that, the opposing group or whoever the audience is, and now you guys are both on the same ground. You're on the same level. You guys both went through the same event or very similar events. So now you're taking out whatever group's ability to say, well, you don't know how this is, you don't know what it's like. So you've gone into a much deeper territory emotionally with these people. So with this common ground, you're able to get to the answer, the hard questions faster than if you didn't have that common background with them. So effectively, you're gonna come and produce answers much faster with this communication skill. Like I said, I went briefly into that. So, but to actually end this, I'd like to state that again, empathy is actually the understanding of how a person feels because you've gone through a similar event, or you're actually going through the same event right at that moment. And sympathy is actually the acknowledgement of how someone feels, even though you don't really know what they're going through, but you help them cope through it, and you're emotionally able to kind of get a good idea what's going on. So thank you for watching this presentation, and if you have any other questions that I didn't go through the video or I didn't really discuss very well, I'd be more than gladly able to help and answer your questions via the discussion board. So thank you again for your time, and have a great day.